We've got Eric here today as our special guest, and Eric he's been in the space, in the DAO space specifically, for a really long time, working over at DAO Stack, and now he's working at Rarible, and kind of as the community lead, DAO lead. I don't know what's your role over there.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I always feel, I don't know if it's just me, but it feels weird to call it like community lead in my mind. Like I feel like a DAO is so much more in a way than a community. Like, yeah, there's a huge focus on community. Um, I just have a preference to like ecosystem, like thinking about it in terms of ecosystem. So I just gave myself the role of ecosystem lead, but yeah,
Yeah, I like that.
yeah, because they're like when you're talking about a protocol, there's there's the Rarible, like the community of like builders and like people who are interested in the DAO and governance, and then there's like all the teams building on the protocol, and I guess you could think about it as community. Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's just preference.
Yeah,
Ecosystem lead, I guess.
I like ecosystem too, or even like economy. I mean, it's like
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it at its root, it's a community. It's sometimes a community of communities. Um, but yeah, there are these other elements now that we've injected with using a DAO. So
Yeah,
over
totally.
at Rarible, like you guys have several meetings a week. They're actually really cool, like the governance meetings and the dev meetings, and they're all open, so anyone can go check it out. But yeah, I think you've really whipped them into shape. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, when I joined in March, and I mean it was basically still a company at that point, and they wanted to go in the DAO direction, and one of the first things to make the move is like I wanted to actually work for the DAO, and so what you have now in a lot of like centralized companies that want to decentralize, you basically have like people running community paid by the company, and that's where we started with Rarible, and I basically said, well, I think it makes a lot more sense if I'm working for the DAO as part of the community, because then I have to struggle to submit proposals and like jump through the same hoops, right? So we did that, and then yeah, everything's we're making everything open. So like slowly, like a lot of our protocol development is getting open calls, and a lot of we have a comms call, and we have all these things that we were doing internally. We're slowly you know opening up, which is actually amazing, and people are starting to participate in various ways. So it's been fascinating to watch over a pretty short period of time. So
Yeah, I think it's really cool to watch it kind of evolve. So yeah, we can get in more into the Rarible stuff you guys are doing, like with the new protocol and some of the partnerships and things you're making. Like quickly, we usually do a quick update on DAO House, and actually, it's good. Like speaking of Rarible, one of the things we're working on is this NFT thing with Rarible, and we're making some really good progress. We've got like, so when a DAO is dealing with NFTs, there's like certain things that come up, like how do you handle these assets that aren't necessarily divisible? I mean, you could take a NFT and make it a token, but if you're sharing assets and someone wants to leave the DAO and they feel like they have some claim over it, like how do you handle that? We're working on some like ideas around buyouts for when people leave on good terms. Like joining a DAO and using an NFT as the kind of tribute. That's another interesting thing. So being able to like, at least in the Moloch DAO, where sometimes you can tribute some kind of funds to represent like an economic skin in the game to receive shares. We're also working on where you could tribute NFTs or some mix of NFTs and ERC20s. So there's a lot of really interesting things coming about while we're diving into really just like this exploration of like participatory ownership over this new kind of asset class of digital assets.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting field of like DAOs being able to curate, manage NFTs.
Yeah,
we can jump into that, but yeah, maybe there's more DAO House updates. I don't know if we want to dive into that, but
yeah, let's hop into it in a second. There's a few other things just quickly. Like we rearranged our Discord, so people who are just coming in and haven't been around for a little bit, it might look a little different. You can go assign yourself a role. Like we tried to break it into different tracks because what we were noticing was some people just wanted to learn about DAOs and learn about DAO House. Some people wanted to dive in and get their hands dirty and contribute in some way. Others are more like starting a DAO and wanting to know about like the next steps in making their DAO mature, or they just want to shill their DAO or whatever. So we have a contributor track, a summoner track, a scholar track, and a supporter track. And the supporter track is the one I didn't mention, but that are for the householders. And so there's in each one of those, they all kind of tie together. You could be a part of multiple tracks, or you could focus on one. And so we'll see kind of what emerges from just getting this kicked off initially. The other thing is we are getting rewards on the swapper pool. So that happened last week. If you're an LP or you have a lot of house and a lot of WETH and you want to help support us, LP is always nice for people trying to get the token. And the DXDAO crew is giving rewards of their DXD token along with WETH token. They're doing multi-token rewards on their farming pools. So you can go farm over there, which is actually going to lead to another cool thing with an LP DAO eventually. And we can talk about that more maybe in the coming weeks. So DAO House updates out of the way. We can get back and talk to our special guest, Eric.
It does seem like I'm back as well.
Yes, you are.
Been working. Things have been working for the last 5 minutes, and I've been quietly watching to see how Deacon would do without a shit talker around him. Eric, so besides the boost in the NFT collector phenomena, one of the things that I thought was really cool, and I was doing the research to host you, was that there is a weird triangulation of desires coming out of Rarible that is pretty cool. So the front end wants to abstract away the blockchain and have like a very mainstream ready product, but being built completely decentralized. But there was a big raise. How did these three things come together, and why is this interesting or irrelevant or super relevant or special or unique, and how do you like see it?
All right, we're coming off swinging. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, the at the end of the day, the investors, I'm not familiar with the exact terms of the raise, but they raised and purchased Rari tokens. So I think incentives are aligned for the Rari governance token and having a stake
no
in the protocol.
No accusations. Just thought it was quite a unique event.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of projects raised, right? I mean, like Uniswap raised, and like a lot of protocols in the space raised. I think it falls in the same camp of needing sufficient capital to develop and build and stay ahead of the pack. Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, you gotta raise money to pay people, and
I don't know. I don't think the actually interesting part is the raise itself. Is the triangulation of building out in the open source, decentralized DAO, etc. But building something that's going to abstract away the blockchain and is designed for mainstream audiences. And the raise was just an important piece of information that you guys do have the capital to take risks, try things out. It's just a segue for you to tell me what you guys are doing, man. Come on. Don't get defensive on me.
No. Yeah, I guess I was trying to figure out what you're getting at. But yeah, I mean, like there's two parts to Rarible, right? There's Rarible.com, which is a company. You know, it's a company. They have equity. They have employees. And there's Rarible Protocol, which is that's what the token holders govern is the protocol, and the protocol Rarible.com is now on the protocol, so it's one of the applications on the protocol. But we're imagining a future where there's going to be dozens, hundreds of applications using the protocol from wallets to marketplaces to like simple minting apps. Just where the protocol is a component of the NFT ecosystem, a building block to easily tap into the NFT space. So, the DAO and the token don't really have any say in Rarible.com or the company. It's really just about the protocol and like that decentralized piece of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, but do tell us more. Is there clarity on responsibilities, the division of responsibilities? How do they interact? Because that sounds super interesting to me. Every project that's negotiating the two approaches, right, in some way, and trying to find incentive alignment in there, which can be a treacherous land, but it can also be kind of delicious because if you do it well, you can get the best of both worlds. So that's one of the topics of interest for me on this episode. Beyond just NFTs, right? I'm more of a governance guy. I'm a painter myself. I should have stopped everything and try to make millions of NFTs, but I'm just blindsided by my curiosity about governance. Yep. So if anybody wants to speak more about NFTs than governance, please speak up because I'm going to ask all the questions about governance.
I think governance is good, and but I think it's interesting the point you bring up, and maybe that is a good thing for us to kind of focus on is like. This is happening in DAO Haus too. We're having companies come to us and be like, "Hey, we want to turn into a DAO. Like, what happens with our company? Does it stay around and we have the DAO on the side, and then how do they interact with each other? What is like the role of a DAO, which is mainly a flat organization, and our corporate structure, which is hierarchical, and." And so then there's the flip side of that where people are just DAOing up right away. But there was also, like Bankless. There's a few Bankless guys on here now, I think. They still have like their Bankless company, and then they have the Bankless DAO. So we're seeing that happen more. It's an interesting play.
Yeah, it's a very meaty topic, and I think like there's no clear playbook yet. But yeah, there's really interesting dynamics here. And even within Rarible, we're seeing like, I'll give an example. We're hiring someone or trying to find people for developer relations roles. And really like that role is like a protocol role where you would imagine that like in an ideal world, they would be employed by the DAO, part of the protocol side of things, helping teams build on the protocol. But there's like this weird dynamic where like, okay, like it's way easier to hire them in the company. It's people are used to being paid by a company. People want a contract with the company. They want to like, be hired and then be like, okay, well now you have to submit a proposal. We're not actually hiring you. So there's like a lot of weird things at play. And the other thing is like from my end, being on the DAO side, I absolutely want them on the DAO side. Like I think it's like critical that we it would be too easy to just hire people in the company and keep growing the company. I want people on the DAO side so that we can think in a decentralized manner and get everybody involved in the protocol, actually submitting proposals and thinking as an open source project. So it's super interesting.
Yeah. And it takes from Deacon and Ven in your experience, because you guys interfaced with a lot of different types of organization, both via DAO Haus and Rarible, right?
Yeah. Actually, Vin could probably speak a little more. There's a group we've been talking to right now, which is in a vertical that's not necessarily like represented in blockchain as a DAO anywhere. There's people that do the kind of work, and I don't know if we can talk about it or not, but they're dealing with the same.
The United Nations? No,
Huh?
I was joking, saying it's the United Nations.
Yeah.
It's just a joke.
Yeah. And anyways, it's like the company wants to have a DAO, and then so they're to get a DAO started and just get it working, it takes some capital. It takes like some resources to kind of be the summoners, right? And so the company's in a situation is like, are we going to have you on our clock like during the day working on this, or is this actually because we don't necessarily own it, right? It's like now your guys' kind of side project, like, so does it happen after hours? Those are some of the kind of conversations around that kind of stuff. I think as an investment for a company, I think it actually makes a lot of sense just to pay some people to get it rolling, and then hopefully it can become sustainable and churning over time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a separate company, really. Like, with Rarible, like, companies that have a company and they want to launch a DAO or they want to DAOify, I don't think they realize that it's like starting a second company, where ideally it's pretty separate, and you have like decentralized working groups and all that. And unless your company can morph like very well into that setting, most companies are going to have like the problem of running the company and running a DAO, and like I don't know, they're just like so different, right?
Yeah, there's some.
Yeah, this is a topic for the 21st century, right? For us to look at. Just because I know Jonathan's taking notes, I'm going to throw some numbers in. So you have, on one side, you have Rari, which is a token managed by the Rarible protocol, which is the DAO, with a market cap of around 50 million. But then you also have a company who raised like 14 million in a Series A. And we have to learn as an ecosystem to align the incentives of these two groups really well, right? We don't have a playbook, as Eric said. And this is a pretty big challenge for ecosystem lead, because you're bound to be, or I probably imagine that you are very aware of the position that you're like the buffer element, right? I guess, or is that incorrect perception?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I think it depends a little bit on how the deal is structured for those investment rounds. I'm not going to disclose like the little that I do know, but like it could be a wide range of options where, like, on the one side, Rarible could have done their entire raise in tokens, and they could have sold tokens to investors, right? And there is the possibility of like some companies might actually want to eventually dissolve the company, right? So there's that area. Another option could have been Rarible did their raise purely in equity. Investors don't have any tokens, right? And so there's like there's a range there, and I think the details do matter and how you structure that. And I think it, different companies might do it for different reasons and like might have different motives. But on our end, I think we're very committed to like having the right stakeholders in the protocol and aligning incentives. So I would expect it was done with that in mind. But
coming from a more dev side of things and operations on that point, like, how have you guys managed the two companies, like basically the DAO and the company, like a core dev team, building on the protocol, and now like really expanding out, becoming more decentralized, bringing in new devs, funding new initiatives that leverage the protocol, things like that. Mm-hmm. Like, is that the kind of developer relationships issue you were talking about, or what?
Yeah.
How is that dynamic?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first things I tried to spearhead internally was just changing the mindset of the company. Like a company is like hierarchical, and like people are just really
That was
getting
well
used to
done.
habits. Thanks. No, I fail at that word 100% of the time. They, like people are used to having team calls, and they're used to like their Slack, and they're used to this culture that's built in a company is a real culture, right? And it's really hard to break. And one of the first things that I started doing when I joined was saying, hey, we really need to shift our mindset around the company and start thinking more openly. Our dev calls should be open. We shouldn't be having these conversations about like the intricacies of the protocol and in the close. We should have these in the public, right? Like, so it just like really a mindset change on like where things happen and who should be involved in what. um originally we were having proposal review calls where it was myself and Alex and Alexi, and we would go through proposals and we say, okay, like, should we support this? Because at the end of the day, we're still centralized. We don't have a decentralized DAO yet. So we actually gatekeep proposals that we submit to Snapshot. And then, after one call, we're like, okay, we're going to make these open. So now we have a call every week where, we do the exact same thing, but it's just in the open, right? So I think it just requires a shift in mindset to think about doing things in the open and inclusive.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually. I mean, yeah, even in this context of there's a company and there's a DAO, and yeah, I mean, you're super aware of DAO function, and that's awesome. You're advocating for those properties of a DAO, like transparency and diverse thinking. These are properties of DAOs, and you're right. Those two. They're both organizations of people, the company and the DAO, but they inherently have incredibly different means of execution. And the main difference is that thing that you're talking about. I feel like my opinion would be like the main difference between their methodologies is that in a centralized organization like a company, yeah, you have these like very closed off backroom calls and things where the information is not shared amongst all the people in the company. Everything is just kind of made at the top level of wherever that's possible. And then those questions are only pushed down to other people if like it's absolutely necessary. But if people have the power in a company, they're going to just make quick decisions based on the company because they already have executive power. That's a very different practice from diverse thinking in a DAO that bubbles up to consensus. That's a very, very different methodology, and it's really interesting to like think of how they are compatible. Are they compatible? Do they have separation of purpose? Sounds like you guys do. Sounds like the company and the DAO have very, very different purposes. Right?
Yeah. I mean, what's interesting is we're at the stage now where like there's so much overlap. It's still almost like one thing, and splitting it up is like definitely requires like conscious effort and like reinforcement of like, okay, this is what we're trying to do here. Because it's just so easy to stay in the centralized mindset. New people coming in like they want a title, they want a title and stuff. And like, I don't know, like I don't think about people in a DAO as having like a CMO title or like
they just make up whatever title the community itself makes up.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
We're mostly like ogres and mages and rangers and
diplomats and paladins and
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, really, we're going through a lot of the same kind of issues in Haus in kind of a different way, but kind of the same. And that was one of the reasons why we rearranged Discord. We're trying to open things up. We started as a DAO, but as a permission DAO of a pretty small group of people. So like our structure is really set up, like we want to bring people in as much as possible into the core group and be as transparent as possible. But we kind of have this legacy system where we're just used to like the 5 guys hanging out in a room coding together. So we're like building. I mean, it's been over the last 6 months really. We're just like slowly building and like figuring out ways to bring the interested parties on the edges into the core or into a new core or whatever it is, like letting that structure emerge. But it's hard, especially when we get used to like the centralized things, and it is a little bit of work, like you were saying, like to plan it out to make things very open and transparent,
and to not negatively affect the existing culture, which you mentioned earlier, right?
Yeah, if I was to just underscore or underline one worry, I think that might show up later on, is around IP and dividends and things like this, right? If it all would go through Rari, it would be much easier to align incentives. And then there's a cool thing I think that needs to happen at some point, that they want to deploy on Flow, find solutions for gasless transactions, and have this mobile app that is truly the blockchain disappears and is invisible, and it feels like Web 2. I don't know. It's a cool experiment in general. Definitely something for all of the governance nerds to watch and also maybe support. I think. I mean, if you need down the line, if sometimes you need a shoulder to cry on, you can always call me. But everybody wants this to work,
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the DAOs in the space, that are VC backed, are kind of trying to solve the same problems. And it's interesting to think about like where it'll end up. Like what's the final like, steady state of this, right? Is it like, is Rarible DAO going to be, is Rarible.com going to have their own DAO? Or is it going to, I don't know. It's like an interesting thing to think of. Like, what's the end result?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think about, this conversation, I'm just kind of listening to what's been at the beginning there and things, and the ideas of progressive decentralization and all those kinds of ideals. Like, even like thinking about it just as basic human coordination in general. Like, a few people get together for an idea, they started a chat channel. That's the company. And they start working together in that channel, and they're fleshing out their ideas. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And all these different things. And at the time, they're building this culture. The longer they stay centralized, the more hardened that culture gets, and the harder it gets for that progressive decentralization to happen. And kind of what I imagine. This is just my kind of my opinion or how I view it happening. But I think companies are awesome to start to bootstrap ideas and things, and you can also start as a DAO. But if you start as a company, the point of that is a centralized place of bootstrapping an idea. And then once that hits a certain level of traction, then you start a DAO, and you progressively start to move power over to that DAO completely, and until the company is no longer needed. That's how I want to see it happen. But if it doesn't happen that way and the company is still needed for some reason, then I think their power just needs to gradually go down and down and down to that specific niche use case. Maybe it's just interacting with meat space lawyers or whatever. Like its utility needs to be the company needs to be distributing power, not accumulating power. And the longer it stays centralized, the longer it's accumulating power, information, and all these things, which is hamstringing the entire organization, really, because we don't know what the full end of that spectrum looks like yet, as you say. But I I assume that it's going to have massive advantages over decentralized thinking and execution, because it's just not diverse, it's not open, it's not transparent. There's no value to anybody except the people who are just trying to make money, basically.
Yeah, but one of the things I think is important, or is possible to soften the tension there, is that make sure that the company owns a considerable amount of the DAO, and the DAO owns a considerable amount of the company. Effectively creating, it wouldn't be a token swap, but some form of swap, you know. And in your case, like it's not just the usual case of a DAO that is VC backed, because the DAO is not VC backed, or maybe it is, but it's in the Rarible token. And then you have another organization who's VC backed. So I think it's a new event, at least in my experience, and it piqued my interest. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have to talk about this forever. If there's any specific things in development in the side of the DAO that you want to bring up?
No, I mean, I think you know, the market right now is very interesting. Like, I mean, I think a lot of the NFT players right now in the space are basically like Web2 companies, you know, selling NFTs. You know, for the most part, they just like built the whole stack, and you know it's closed, and you know they might have an API or something like that. And so yeah, I mean, I'm super excited about the protocol, because instead of, you know, this approach that everyone else is taking, we're a Lego block, which, you know, as we all know, that's kind of the winning strategy. It's a much more complicated Lego block than Uniswap, which is just like an AMM, and you just, you know, throw tokens at it and it spits out some other token. But it's a Lego block nonetheless that like anyone can modify and play with and, you know, interact with. And so, you know, I'm personally very bullish on that approach. And I think that the innovation in the NFT space needs this kind of level of infrastructure to really start thriving. And having,
I would love to hear more on what's the current like state of the art of the thinking on having NFTs feel like they have liquidity like a token, which is kind of the embedded promise in the sentence, like the Uniswap of NFTs. And like I just don't have enough creativity to see how it works, and I'm pretty sure it's my fault. It's probably possible. So I was curious to see how it would work. And I assume Rari is going to sit in the middle of that.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit different, but yeah, the way to think about it is like right now, all the NFT marketplaces have their own order book, right? Like bid, buy, and sell orders, and all that. It's pretty siloed. And with the protocol, there's a shared order book. That's the biggest difference. So you can have, you know, 100 applications building on the protocol, and all of them pool the buy and sell bids on the order book for the NFTs. So that shared order book just creates like network effects, and it creates, you know, you can have an application that just launches, right? Like Coco NFT is an application that is just launching. They let you mint Instagram NFTs just directly from your Instagram account. So you'll be able to mint your NFT, and then right away it's on a shared order book. So they'll show up on Rarible.com, they'll show up on other applications, and you know, you can monetize on both ends, both on the where you mint it and then where you sell it. So you don't have to worry. Like Coco NFT, alternatively, if they were building their own stack, they'd have to create like almost a two-sided marketplace to like buy and sell, and like, you know, there's a lot more work in creating that. So the shared order book allows you to kind of tap into an already existing market of buy and sells for NFTs.
Get that built, and I can finally quit all my DAOs and become an artist 24/7.
You still have to be in the artist DAO or something.
No more DAOs. Can we just get rich of the podcast or something? This is the most fun thing I do every week.
Well, speaking of something, an interesting factoid. So, DAO Haus was initially built at a hackathon, at ETH Berlin, and it was a small group of 5 people. 3 of us are still like very active. Me, Ben, and Sam. And then the other 2 we brought on to help us out was actually Eric was one of them, and then Pete from Metagame. This was like before DAO Haus was a thing, and we were just like hacking away, doing what you do at hackathons, drinking a lot of beer, and
Club mate.
yeah, a lot of club mate, and yeah. So Eric was our meme lord, and it was pretty awesome. I wish we had that song somewhere, but he made a song, and we went to the judges, to present our project, and we played this song, which was a very Dieter kind of DAO Haus chanting kind of thing.
I cannot believe you allowed this to disappear in space-time. Eric,
go to your room.
Go to your room. Yeah, okay, cool, perfect. I'll shut up.
Oh, you got it?
Shall we mint it on Rarible right now?
It's in the meme channel right now. Anybody can go view it.
All right, do it, Eric. Do the song, Eric.
Let's see. How do I do this? Where do I put the song?
I don't know, but I'm deeply ashamed that I was unaware of the story.
Just play it. Just blast it, yo.
Wait, you guys can't hear it though if I'm playing on my computer.
Maybe we could if your mic's on.
Just play it out loud.
I just linked to the channel.
Let's see.
There you go.
Oh,
Groovy. Groovy has joined the fray.
It's a little quiet. I guess we have to kind of through it. So this song, very, it's got great production value, right? It's like,
So, suffice to say, we didn't win.
I did give it.
Thought I would, like walking into a quiet room of judges with this music blasting.
But also our slide deck was like pretty explicit and like it was just a bunch of memes. There weren't any words on the slides. It was just like a bunch of pictures, and it was entertaining.
Yeah, there was a one of like a live birth of a Moloch demon kind of thing. I remember looking at the judges and them just being like, "What were you guys thinking?"
Yeah, they were not ready for the house party.
We're not ready for the house party.
Did you guys get a prize? I assume so.
Oh, was that?
We did not get a prize.
All right, 2 fly for the Germans. No problem, guys. No problem.
We did get a prize from the not from the
Genesis DAO gave you some money.
not Genesis DAO, but DHack. Maybe that was a similar thing though. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got some rewards from the community, but not from the hackathon judges. They were terrified of Eric's memes for sure. That we all loved greatly.
That's crazy.
I quit memeing after that.
Yeah. That was
good. Crazy to think of, like that's how what DAO Haus is today. It all started from that song, basically.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
Are you going to Paris, Eric?
No, I'm getting my second vaccine soon, but yeah, was late on the ticket and also didn't have a second vaccine, so I figured whatever.
Yeah, that's
I mean, the other thing that is might be interesting to talk about is like curation and like what you guys are doing with this boost. I mean, I'm super bullish on that personally. I don't know, like curation is going to become huge, and like one of the things I've been thinking about is like I really don't like the idea of like all these marketplaces curating what we should be looking at and what's cool and what's not cool, and what's historic and what's not historic. And I can't wait until we have communities doing that.
Right. Yeah. The only solution, right, to pretty much any curation, censorship, all these types of things is that it just needs to get out of that company's little closed room where they're making decisions, and the users of the platform need to be able to signal.
Yeah, you kind of have like two levels of curation right now. Either the platform is going to curate it, or maybe like a crypto Twitter influencer or something. So I think what'll be interesting when DAOs start collecting NFTs is they're a level of curation just in the fact that they're like, maybe there's a DAO that only buys Castle NFTs or something, but they find all the best ones, right? And so they build a reputation of that, and so that becomes a curation angle. Even them just like liking something becomes something, right. And it's not from a single person or someone that may have been like paid.
God damn it! I'm sorry, guys.
But
because I have to read the notes. The Eric song broke my internet.
Okay. There's a lot of interesting things, and yeah, I think curation, DAOs collecting, curating, creating, all those things are going to be happening, and it's cool to see it happen more as a collective and more as a group of people participating together to do it. Another interesting thing we talked about in Crypto Twitter was like DAOs as NFTs, which is a little like crazy idea, but actually I think we're going to probably implement that into our vaults. Just the idea of ownership, right? Like a vault right now is owned by a single DAO, but there's no idea of like transferring an entire vault. So a vault of all the assets and all the tokens and all that. Just the thing that NFTs really is like awesome about is this idea of ownership and uniqueness. So, like you could just take an entire bank account and sell it, or put it off into another DAO, or there's a lot of kind of crazy things you could do with that. Like mergers and acquisitions is like what you brought up, I think. So it's like there's some interesting things.
Yeah, I was at the beach and I was like, I had this random thought of like, wait a minute, what if we just make DAOs into NFTs? It's like, oh my god. And but then I was left like asking myself like, what the hell does this mean? Like, why do that? But I think there's some really like interesting reasons to do that, which could be super cool to explore.
Yeah, we have a friend working on that kind of, or at least the other way around, that every NFT can also be a DAO.
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today too. Is like really anything could be a DAO. There was an interesting project that was like a hot or not of NFTs, and so every NFT had this like governance built in of like saying if it was hot or not.
Oh, nice.
And so injecting governance, that's one of the cool things about our tech is we can like inject governance into everything.
Right. Super cool.
Someone asked if you guys expand on the DAOs as NFTs idea. Probably Deacon.
Yeah, I mean, basically what I said. We haven't thought about it too much, but yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Eric? I guess we got 5 more minutes, but like, what do you think? Like, because there's interesting issues. Like, what is an NFT really? Like, and what is DAO really? And then like, how would a DAO be an NFT?
I don't know. That's why I was left with like the what does it all mean question in my head, because I was like, what is this? Like what is an NFT? What's a DAO? Why would a DAO be an NFT? I don't know.
I guess one utility I see is within a DAO, NFTs would be great for various roles. I could pass Eric this NFT or the DAO itself can issue an NFT to Eric that gives him access to make dope memes for us or something. So roles within a community, NFTs are great because they can grant access and it's non-fungible and whatever. So you can send those around for access, ownership rights, those types of things. So the same thing could happen, I guess, at the DAO level, where if a DAO is represented as an NFT, then one DAO could pass another DAO that NFT, which grants ownership over that DAO. So if a DAO wanted to transfer ownership of the entire DAO to another group of people who maybe would be better stewards or something.
Would be you can have all of this metadata attached to an NFT that has added permissions controlled by other NFTs and et cetera, and this can form like a IP DAO of sorts.
Yeah, totally.
And that's totally what Ceramics is building, by the way. So I think if Rarible and Ceramics haven't had a chat yet, at least the DAO side might be interested in talking to Ceramics.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realize Ceramics was taking that approach. But
and then I also start seeing tokens or data between parties, be they financial or just data, as streams instead of atomized transactions, like streams of permissions or streams of value or streams of access. I think we are at the beginning of a. I don't want to sound too hyperbolic because I do that too often anyway, but we're at the cusp of a paradigm shift of sorts.
Yeah.
Have been for less since Bitcoin.
No, but like within a paradigm shift within us, not just within society figuring us out.
Oh yeah.
But within the very notion of permission, participation, value. So we're basically having a fourth dimension, which would be time.
Well, it could be a fourth spatial dimension, but I won't go on that right now.
Look, don't bring your supersymmetry into this, okay? It's a failed theory. No, I'm joking.
Listen, there's a maximum of 12 dimensions before math breaks.
No, come on.
Yeah.
The thing is, we have to make DAO Haus cosmology and particle physics, and then we can try.
I mean, they all share similarities, right? I mean,
it's the same set of problems. Yeah,
it's the same set of shit. Yeah. I mean, human organizations. Going back to that point, organizations. It's just a group of people. You can call it whatever it is, a company, a DAO, a union, a guild, whatever the hell, but
organism.
It's just an organization of humans, exactly, and a human is an organization of cells, and a solar system is an organization of planets and stellar bodies, and everything's just these different ways of different things joining forces on meta properties. Basically, it's all those things are a cell has its job and it's doing its thing autonomously, but it does have to do that within the meta of the organism. So I don't know. I think we're getting.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, it's perfect.
Damn close. Yeah.
It's that annoying sensation that there is a point to things that have no point. But the thing is, whatever beach you and Van were in, Eric, and whatever you were taking at that beach, invite me next time, because we have definitely gotten to the end of our podcast today, and I would we have final statements. I guess time left for Monsieur Arsenault to tell us some things. Are you coming with CC, Eric?
No, not this year, unfortunately.
So you're definitely going to miss the best event Taoists ever put together, which is called The Taoist, and you can find out all about it though at thedaoist.co. And maybe you want to sponsor that with your fancy big organization. I don't know. Give me a call.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a blast. Super cool to hang out, talk with you fun folks, and super pumped about. I mean, NFTs going mainstream. I'm so pumped about it. There's so much innovation happening, so many teams building cool stuff. I think it's going to be a real explosion over the next 6 months to a year. DAOs, same thing. And the merging of the two, just gets me super turned on. So pumped to keep exploring this.
Hey, it's a family show, Eric. Gotcha. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for coming. Our audience, Eric, Deacon, and Ben for being the intelligent people on the podcast. And I will sign off saying goodbye. See you next time, and till next week in House Park. That was a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Vanilla, press that red button.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys.